So, yesterday, we got some interesting news regarding the newest Game of Thrones spinoff, and, it's not good.
Oh, are you a fan of Game of Thrones?
Yeah, I dabble here and there. But the news coming out of HBO is that the Night of the Seven Kings spinoff will be pushed back from its 2025 release date to sometime in 2026.
Yes. That is some, that's some bad news.
It's something. We also got a first look at what the logo is going to look like. Did you see the logo?
I did not. Let me look it up here.
Here you go.
The one with the tree behind it?
Yes. Looks very nice.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
But on top of all the announcements of that Night of Seven Kingdoms is going to be pushed back, HBO has just announced they're going back to the HBO name. So they've been called Max the entire time. Now it's going to be HBO Max.
Yeah, it's so weird because isn't Max doing really, really well? Like, why are they messing with stuff that when things aren't broke?
Maybe they realized that it would be better if they would be doing way better if they had HBO behind their name, because if you recall, it used to be HBO. Then I remember it being HBO Go when they moved on to the mobile platforms.
It was like HBO Now and HBO Go at the same time or something.
Right. And then HBO Max.
Yeah.
And then Max,
and then things, yeah.
Right, and now HBO Max. It's a whole thing. But Night of the Seven Kingdoms being pushed back to 2026. We had this conversation briefly a couple hours ago when the news first broke, and you were a little worried about this. Can you go more into that?
Yeah. Well, here's the point. Here's the point I'm making is George had already seen rough cuts of the 6 episodes. So we know that all filming is done. We know that it was put together pretty much all set. And unlike Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon, there's not that much CGI going on, okay? We don't got direwolves. We don't got dragons. It's a bunch of I'm not saying it's simple. There's a big tourney going on, and that's going to be expensive, but there's not much to do in post. There's not much to do once it's all been filmed, or at least relatively speaking. I mean, there's always stuff to do, with revoicing and stuff like that, touching stuff up, but it's not the same as we need to finish the CGI. And so the delay of the Night of the Seven Kingdoms makes me wonder if they're delaying it because they really want to delay House of the Dragon, that there's a problem with House of the Dragon season 3, and that they're trying to space things out so that there's some Game of Thrones thing coming, something of the franchise coming. Because had they done, say, Night of the Seven Kingdoms this year, and then they weren't able to put out House of the Dragon next year, and then a whole nother years goes by, people are like, man, it's been a long time since House of the Dragon,
right?
Say that filming takes a long time, and that has a huge long post. I think maybe they're trying to hide the fact that there's delays with House of the Dragon by delaying a Night of the Seven Kingdoms. That's my guess. It's just very weird. It's very weird that they had all the filming done and George saw the episodes and George announced that it was going to come out in spring of this year, and then it was fall of this year, and now it's going to be next year. I mean, what else could be delayed?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, though, and this has been a consistent issue. We've discussed this before on the podcast as well, and even in my own videos, I've discussed it. There's been some confusion as to when Night of the Seven Kingdoms would be releasing. George said sometime in the spring. Some HBO employee said summertime, and David Zaslav said fall. I was expecting a fall release.
Absolutely, yeah, I too.
I guess we can probably expect Night of the Seven Kingdoms 2026 spring, summer. Yeah. I was actually thinking that maybe they were going to try to do the Disney model with Star Wars and Marvel, because Disney love to release Star Wars like every 5 months or so.
Mm-hmm. I think it's the difficulty. With what's happening with House of the Dragon. I mean, now that I think about it, because you think about the number of dragon battles compared to season 1 to season 2 in House of the Dragon, and the complexity of it, and then you're just having more of them, right?
Yeah.
So House of the Dragon season 2, that was 2024. House of the Dragon season 1 was 2022, right? So we have a 2-year space between the two. And even then, some people thought House of the Dragon was a little rushed, even though they had 2 years. So now it's looking like House of the Dragon is going to come out. Season 3 is going to come out probably in 2027. This is my guess. If you're pushing that to the Seven Kingdoms, that means you've given House of the Dragon 3 years to cook. Otherwise we would have had, Knight of the Seven Kingdoms they could have released the Knight of Seven Kingdoms this year and there still would have been a 2-year wait. But I guess maybe they're like, well, we might as well give both of them some time to.
So your idea is not only are they pushing back Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, but they're also pushing back House of the Dragon to give those guys more time to get things right and not have a repeat of season 2.
Yeah.
Okay. I wouldn't be opposed to that, but if Ryan Condal and his team need 2+ years to get this right when that wasn't the case before, then I have to wonder what's going on behind the scenes with House of the Dragon that HBO needs to maneuver the other show around so they have enough Game of Thrones content at a steady pace. Because I was thinking we'd get 2 Game of Thrones spinoffs in 2026, but Hot D Season 3 being pushed to 2027 also makes sense. Could the CGI maybe needs more time? Could be the writing needs more time? Could be that they're being very cautious? Could be all the above. And I'm not gonna lie, it's making me a little nervous. Not because we're not gonna have anything to cover in the off season, no. But because I want the franchise to have banger shows, and this doesn't seem like smooth sailing. Which sucks because season 2 had some issues, but the first half was great. George even said so himself that he liked it, but that second half, They fumbled the bag. Okay, fine. We can get back to form for season 3. We can get back there.
Absolutely.
So, I don't know. Now I'm a little nervous because are they rewriting the scripts? Are they having trouble getting certain things down? Is George back in the writer's room?
Is George causing trouble?
I don't think he's causing trouble, but I would feel more comfortable if George gave it the stamp of approval like he did for Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. Because you're right, Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, why delay it unless they're delaying season 3? Because George gave it the stamp of approval. He liked what he saw, and he's been very vocal about that. In fact, during the press tour or the press night for not Into the Badlands. What's that fucking show what's that movie they released?
Into the Lost Lands.
Thank you. I forgot this fucking thing existed. For the press night, that interview he did for Into the Lost Lands, they asked him about House of the Dragon and Ryan Condal, and George completely ignored that and shifted to Ira Parker, who's doing Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. So I'm not worried about Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. I'm worried about House of the Dragon.
Yes. Now, that said, there's certain things, like, look, I think Knight of the Seven Kingdoms is going to be great, but I do admit that it's going to be paced really weird because there's not much action for the first half of the entire story. So it's like, what are you going to actually have for your climax of your episode? I think there's fundamental pacing problems that are built into the story. I don't know what they're going to do about that, but I'll see. We'll see what they come up with. But
that's a very good point on the pacing, but also on how it's not really structured for television. But weirdly enough, a Game of Thrones was, because in the first story it kind of just ends with them wanting to go to Dorne. But in a Game of Thrones, Dany's dragons come alive, and it's this really amazing scene, and it was great for television. Even House of the Dragon season 1 ended on a pretty strong note. So. But even with the ending scene for the whole season, having them continue on to other adventures would be fine. But that first episode, when you compare it to Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon,
you can't have. I mean, like Game of Thrones, you have Bran fall from the tower. With Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, nothing, like literally nothing happens to Dunk. The big shocker that happens to Dunk is that the stable boy that he told that he didn't want to have him like come along shows up and is at his campsite cooking some food for him. Like that is the big shocker reveal that Dunk buries his the guy who'd been his essentially his adoptive father. Dunk buries his adoptive father. He goes and he eats a meal at an inn, and some dude is like, "Hey, I know you. I dreamed of you." And then Dunk goes and he bargains and tries to buy some armor and shit. And then he goes back and he sees a puppet show. And then he goes back and the little boy, at the inn, a little boy is like, "Hey, can I come to the tourney with you?" And he's like, "No." And then he goes back to his campsite and the little boy has left the inn and is now cooking some food for him. And that is the shocker ending at that point, like, for episode 1. I mean, conceivably. I mean, that's how they broke up. There's 6 episodes. That's how they broke up the story for the comic book. And if you're, like, what could happen after that? Well, not much. There's not much that happens after that either. They go and they see some more puppet shows and they watch some jousting, but they don't, like, there's no cliffhanger until Aerion attacks Tansel Too Tall. And that's halfway through the fucking story. So I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be tough.
Well, then that opens up a new question. Do you think that maybe they're not so sure about Dunk and Egg being a success, that maybe they're trying to release both this and House of the Dragon season 3 in the same year? Because that's what came through my mind when I first heard that they were pushing it back, that maybe they want to release both in the same year to keep a steady pace of Ice and Fire stuff and maybe maximize the profits. But now I'm thinking maybe HBO, who needs Game of Thrones shows to be smash hits, maybe they aren't so sure it's going to be a smash hit from what they've seen.
I mean, that's an interesting. I mean, you're bringing up a very good point now. Now you're saying somebody else, like, now people, you're thinking that maybe it got delayed because somebody's like, yeah, this kind of sucks. Like George is like, this is awesome, but somebody else is like, nah, this kind of sucks.
Yeah, George thought Doorways was awesome too.
I mean, because fundamentally, I think there's some serious pacing problems for A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. I don't think it should have been broken up into 6 episodes. I think that's way too much.
Do you think it should have been a movie?
I think it should have been a movie. I think it should have been a movie, or maybe I could argue, like, I think you could do 4 episodes max. 4 episodes max for Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, honestly. There's just not that much material. I mean,
yeah.
Look, all of you can Google, read the Hedge Knight comic online free, and you will come up with these 6 issues of the Hedge Knight, and you can look at how it's broken down based on very faithful to George's story, but it does not have cliffhangers. Because it just goes along.
When I'm talking about cliffhangers, I'm talking about like the end of the season cliffhanger and how good that's going to be.
Oh, it's going to be like a nice ending. George has great endings. I think the last episode will be really great.
Right. The last episode of the season is kind of also what I'm worried about, because you have some really powerful endings to a first season with Game of Thrones and even House of the Dragon. But this one here, it's, where are we going, sir? I've never been over the Red Mountains. Would you like to have a look at Doran? I hear they have good puppet shows.
I hear they have good puppets, motherfucker. Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. Puppets. Yeah. Is that what you're
like even I would even argue that Sworn Sword has a very decent ending with him leaving Rohanne Weber. And even Mystery Knight has a great, with the reveal of the dwarves and the dragon eggs. Like, with the dragon egg. Like, okay, cool. But I feel as though Hedge Knight has kind of a ending.
Well, it's got this Man, now this is like a whole discussion. This is a whole discussion within itself. Okay, the problem is that, you know, you've got this epic battle. You can make the battle like 45 minutes of the episode. Then you've got a funeral, and then you have like them going off, like, and, you know,
45. Wait, Preston, 45 minutes. That battle, I would argue, should not even last more than 15 minutes because the jousting.
What else is going to be in the fucking episode? You know, it's just fucking battles.
This is why I'm wondering if they're gonna add filler.
Baylor's
to, like,
brains fall out, and the fucking, you know.
Well, here's the thing. This is why I'm wondering if they're gonna add filler, because we don't really know much about Dunk other than
they could add some filler, because most of the Hedge Knight, most of the Hedge Knight is like him going to an inn and eating dinner and being like, this is what a knight should be. And him going to an armor and being like, how much will you give me for my armor? Well, I don't know, 800, it's 800 stags for a new armor. Well, okay. And, you know, and then him going to the puppeteer and being like, hey, can you paint me a shield? What do you want on your shield? I don't know what I want. Well, I saw a shooting star the other night. Like, it is not fucking like riveting, exciting stuff to put to screen. It's a nice story to read.
Well, that's what I'm saying is that a majority of the people watching this are show only people. Like when Knight of the Seven Kingdoms Hedge Knight first came out, Ice and Fire fans were ecstatic because they heard about the tales of Sir Duncan the Tall. Show watchers who don't know anything about that and aren't going to remember that one Easter egg from Game of Thrones where Jaime talks about him, why should they care about this guy? And I don't think the first few issues do the character justice. Yeah, he saves Tansel Too Tall, and yes, he's all about what's right and justice.
But he saves Tansel Too Tall halfway through the fucking story.
Right, so we need some filler.
You would be at the end of episode 3 by the time he saves Tansel Too Tall.
Right, and then so that's what I'm saying. Like, we need some filler.
Then episode 4 is him going... Yeah, I mean, the filler is like him going to... Hey, you're a green apple Fossaway. Oh, he called me, you know, like, oh God, like it's a lot of talking and not much action. Now, what could they do? They could try to put in some like flashbacks to the Blackfire Rebellion or something.
No, what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to give us an episode where Sir Olin of Pennytree and Dunk, at least the first episode, they're going around and doing something meaningful. Maybe Sir Arlen, instead of him dying the way he does, he dies doing something heroic, and Duncan is inspired to follow in his footsteps.
What I'm scared is that they're going to slip in a scene, an incorrect scene of Arlen knighting Dunk, which would just be like, oh no, don't do that, considering it never happened. Oh, and it ruins the whole story if you do that. I'm scared there's going to be something like that, because he does describe later. He's like, oh yeah, he knighted me on his deathbed, and you're like, oh my God, that's some melodrama. That didn't happen, but please don't put that in. So I'm scared that they're going to do shit like that.
No, I understand your fear 110%. And the one thing I'm afraid about is just the casuals falling off the first episode because they think it's boring.
I do not. I've like during my stream, somebody asked like, what would you want in the trailer? And I'm like, I was like, well, obviously it's a trailer, so I imagine they'd show all the action of the fucking story. And then I was like, which means the Tribal of 7, and then the fist fight with Aerion, and then, and there was nothing more. And then you're like, the puppet show. Like, honestly, like, seriously, dude, the puppet show is the third most exciting thing to happen during the whole story. Okay? Fucking puppets. Okay? It shouldn't be fucking 6 episodes. So we may have, now that we're talking about it.
Let's put money on this. Not only are they going to, like, the trailer's going to have the puppets, the intro is going to be puppets.
Oh my God. So this is where we talk about, like, things that are going to make me die inside. Okay. 1, the fucking dagger showing up is going to have me die inside.
It has to show up, Preston. It has to.
Sir Arlen knighting Dunk would make me die a whole lot inside. Like, oh no. Oh, you didn't understand the story. Oh.
George gave it the A1 stamp of approval. So in George R.R. Martin, I trust. If he liked what he saw, then I think most of your fears will be alleviated.
First of all, George R. Martin liked doorways when he was a much younger and cleverer man. Okay? Okay? He is 76 years old. 76 and a half years old, okay? And
oh, wait a minute, fuck, you just put an idea in my head and I kind of wish you didn't. Because, again, I want to harken back to that fucking interview that he did with, fuck, what's that movie called again? Not Into the Badlands. It's
into the Lost Lands.
Thank you. Same shit, really, if you think about it. Oh my god, I didn't realize this at the time, but this is a question for you in the audience. The interviewer asked George, so, what was your experience like working with Ryan Condal? And then he goes into Ira Parker, showrunner for Night of the Seven Kingdoms. What if the only reason he is praising Night of the Seven Kingdoms so much is because he's being a petty high school girl trying to throw shade on Ryan Condal? I don't
God,
think...
I could see that. Because,
I don't think he's doing that, but I want to believe that he really likes what he saw. But
yeah.
Maybe
running into your ex-girlfriend and being like, "Hey, how's it going?" And she's like, "Great, I'm dating this really great guy." And in fact, she doesn't really like him that much, but she wants to tell
right?
you
Yes.
that he's a really great guy.
Exactly. Yeah. But so here's what I'll put money on this. The intro, because I don't like House of the Dragon's intros. Like at first it was the blood on the tablet, and then for the second one it was the weaving.
Somehow it was even worse the second season. Yeah.
But the intro for Night of the Seven Kingdoms, it's probably going to be puppets. It's probably, and I'll be fine with that. That would be okay.
That would be that'd be awesome if the puppets are good. Like
if they're good.
Like it starts telling the story of like Aegon's conquest with puppets.
And you don't want the dagger to show up. I want it to show up because it would be fucking hilarious. But I know you don't want it to show up.
I'm so torn. You're right that it's going to be so hilarious.
So
but
stupid.
At the same time, it'd be so stupid.
I kind of wish they did it like Andor.
Arion's dagger, and he's going to threaten Tansel Tootal with it. And Dunk is going to knock it out of his hand, and then they're going to like fight, and there's going to be this dagger, and the dagger's going to get really close to Dunk's face, and then
like it got close to Rhaenyra's face when Alicent was like, God.
And then Egg is going to run in and be like, stop. Oh.
See, here's the thing. I think you would be fine with the dagger if it was done like kind of how the blaster in Andor was done. Not major attention was drawn to it. It's just to follow the dagger. Cool thing if you noticed it. Whatever. Fuck it. Maybe Aaron has another knife he threatens, and it's just a knife on his thing. A Valyrian steel is too good for this commoner's blood. Whatever. Like something stupid like that.
Or it's like not focused on. Like he's using it, but they don't like really focus on the dagger. You're just like, is that? I think that might be the dagger. Like I think it's like, that. But if one show is 200 years in the past and the next show is 100 years in the past, the dagger, I mean, where's the dagger? I mean, you're right that the dagger showing up is such a fucking strong possibility.
Before we wrap this up, there is one problem that Game of Thrones spin-off shows are now having that Star Wars is having a lot with. So, Star Wars needs a website where it shows you when the shows and movies take place. Because it's kind of weird that we had Acolyte and Skeleton Crew all in the same year, and they take place like 150 years between each other. Because Acolyte is after Endor. I'm sorry, Acolyte is before 100 years before Phantom Menace. Skeleton Crew is like a couple of years after Endor. So, and we don't know that. We know that because we're fans and we look this up, but the casuals know that. Right. It's going to be even worse for casual fans watching this because the Night of Seven Kingdoms takes place, 50, 80 years after House of the Dragon?
Right. Yeah, and you don't want... I mean, there's a lot of timelines out there, and some of them are really fucking bad. They're just messy, and you're just like, I don't fucking care. I don't fucking care when Bad Batch took place, okay? Like, you don't need to, like, no one's watching Bad Batch except for you, okay? Like, just show where the fucking live-action movies and the live-action shows are, and that's it,
To the people being like, why do you care if casuals? Because casuals, this is something Ice and Fire fans love to be ignorant on. Guys,
oh my God,
you guys are like, I'm being generous, 15% of the viewer base. Casual fans who've never read the books and don't want to are a majority here. These shows that we love live and die on their backs. So you need to understand that every move here they got to make has to be perfect or casuals are going to tune out.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, like, it is what it is, guys. I hate to break it to you guys, but it is what it is. That's why I'm worried about Night of the Seven Kingdoms kind of being a little boring in its first few episodes. And that's kind of why I think there should be some filler where Arlen of Penetry dies saving a village or some shit, you know? Like, fuck it. Like, maybe George can write that episode, like The Village Hero or something that's supposed to be the next in line. Like, maybe that could be here. Who knows?
You could go back in time and tell George in the year 1998 that you need to rewrite your story with 6 peaks, six little cutoff areas where there's going to be an episode, and be like, fuck, I'm definitely making something better than Egg shows up and cooks Dunk dinner.
Like, now that you say it, now that we're talking about it, yeah, it should have been a movie. It should have been a movie.
Should have been a movie.
No!
Absolutely.
Oh.
Absolutely.
Preston, I have kept you on for too long. Do you mind if we wrap it up here?
Sounds good.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us. As always, we'll see you all next time. Have a good one.